Today we're swinging into the jungles of Monkeyland in the Dominican Republic. We'll play around with some curious squirrel monkeys, explore the ape-salutely stunning scenery, and give you the lowdown on whether this place is worth going bananas for. Hi, I'm Andy, and I love to talk about everything fun under the Florida sun, from the state parks to the theme parks, and occasionally the cruise ships, because cruising is a big thing here in Florida. My family and I recently went on an 8-night cruise on the Carnival Horizon to the Southern Caribbean with a couple of stops in the Dominican Republic. And one of our ports of call in the Dominican Republic was La Romana, where we went and did the Monkeyland and Dominican Flavors for Families excursion. So today I'm going to tell you guys all about our experience on this excursion, so maybe you can decide if you want to do this one, if you're on a cruise that takes you to this same spot. Alright, so the full name for this excursion, at least what Carnival calls it, is Monkeyland and Dominican Flavors for Families. The other cruise lines like to use the same operators, so if you see something similar to this on a different cruise line like Norwegian or Royal or something like that, probably talking about the same excursion. So your experience will probably be really similar to this one. The price at the time that we did this was $90 for adults, $80 for kids, and they do consider anybody above the age of 12 to be an adult. So if you've got teenagers, 13 and up, they are going to have to pay the adult price for this. And the prices I've seen out there do tend to fluctuate a little bit for this one. I have seen it listed a little bit less and more. I've seen this excursion priced as high as $110 for adults. So pricing probably depends on the season and maybe even what ship it is. And this is for a full experience. It lasts about 5 hours, give or take. Alright, so first thing you need to know about this. It says this is a 5-hour excursion, and what you really need to know is about 3 hours of this are going to be spent in the bus there and back. Yeah, the description on this one wasn't very transparent about this. It does list like Monkeyland and then this Flavors for Families thing you're going to be doing, but a huge part of this is actually the tour. You're going to be going on a nice guided tour of the countryside and some of the cities on the way when you're going back and forth from Monkeyland from the port. It's not exactly a bad thing. I actually really like that. I think they briefly mention a tour in the description of this excursion, but when you get on board this bus, the tour lasts quite a long time. It is like an hour and a half out and back. So it's a big part of this. I actually really enjoyed it. When you go to a lot of these cruise ports, you don't really get to experience the country too much in a lot of these places. You're gonna see the port, you know, where they sell all the touristy stuff and maybe some of the excursions. Maybe there's a beach nearby. But getting on this bus tour and getting to go out into the country and seeing some of the actual real city in the Dominican Republic was super interesting to me. So if that's something that you think you might enjoy, you might really like this excursion. I really liked this part of it. I thought it was super interesting to see how people live out here and see a totally different country. Now, I agree this may not be for everybody. Some people just want to get to the thing. They want to get to Monkeyland and do that, and this 90-minute bus ride is not going to be for them. So that's why I really want to let you guys know that if you're on this excursion, it is a long bus ride. I enjoyed it as part of the experience, but it may not be for everybody. When we were on our way out there, our tour guide was giving a great tour. He was explaining like the history of the country, what we're seeing, the history of some of these cities, pointing out points of interest throughout the cities we were driving through. And there was a guy behind me at one point, maybe about an hour into the 90-minute drive, who just interrupted the tour and he said, hey, how much longer is it gonna be? And I kind of gave the guy a little bit of side eye, like, okay, buddy. And people around me were looking at him like everybody was kind of chilling, enjoying the ride. And this guy gets up and interrupts the tour and kind of complained about how long it was taking. I didn't think that was too cool, you know, so you want to know going into this, is going to be a bit of a long bus ride to the first experience, but I really enjoyed it. I really liked seeing all this stuff out here. So then we arrived at Monkeyland after about 90 minutes, and the area this is in is actually beautiful. You start off in kind of the city near the beach and near the cruise port. Once you kind of get out into the mountains and out into the country, this region is beautiful. Some of us actually kind of thought it looked like Hawaii or even like Jurassic Park a little bit. That's kind of the thing you'd hear a couple people say, like, oh, I'm expecting a T-Rex to climb up behind those trees over there. So it was beautiful. We really, really loved this scenery around here. And this is something we don't really get to see where I live in Florida. So seeing these tropical mountains and this kind of environment was really, really cool. And I really liked this. So we're getting off the bus at Monkeyland, and this same grumpy guy who was complaining about the tour taking too long gets off right behind me, and he's getting off the bus all like, oh, no, can you believe this? I can't believe how long this took. What a joke this is. And he's just got a bad attitude right off the bat coming off the bus. So I tell my family, see that guy over there? Let's kind of avoid that dude because he's got a bad vibe, and I don't want to come out here to Monkeyland where we're supposed to have a good time and have people ruin the day. So I want to tell you all about this, that this does take a long time to get out here. It is quite a bit of a long bus ride to get here, but there's a tour involved, and our tour guide was great. So before you get to see the monkeys and play around with them and feed them, you have to go to an orientation. And they're going to put you in this giant room with everybody, and they're going to tell you all the rules to abide by and everything you need to do to enjoy the monkeys and hang out with the monkeys and feed the monkeys and be safe with the monkeys. You cannot bring any backpack in here. No bags, no purses, no crossbodies, no fanny packs, none of that. You have to leave that all in a big chest that is like everybody's stuff goes into. Or they will charge you $5 to put your stuff in a locker. They actually sell you a lock that you get to keep for $5. So if you don't trust putting all your stuff in this big chest with everyone else's things, which we didn't, so we did spend the $5 for the lock. I don't know, it felt a little bit nickel and dimey right off the bat because you either have the option to risk all your stuff being stolen or hey, for $5 you can put it over here. So right away, yeah, you know, they're trying to get you, but we did feel a little more peace of mind buying the lock. And in the orientation, they tell you can't have any food in your pockets. If you do have any food in your pockets, the monkeys will find it. They don't want you making like a fist because the monkeys will think you're hiding food and they'll come up and try to grab it. If you put your hands in your pockets, they'll think you're putting food in your pockets. And the monkeys will get kind of like aggressive and try to get in your pockets. He said they're really good at unzipping zippers. They're good at like finding their way into things. So no purses, no backpacks allowed in. And you have to be really careful with where you put your hands. So that was all pretty interesting. After that, they're gonna break you into little groups and they're gonna bring you into the monkey enclosures in groups of like maybe a dozen or so. And at this point, they're gonna sit you down and they're gonna give everybody like a dog bowl and they're gonna walk by along the line and put like nuts and fruit and apples and carrots and things like that in this little dog bowl you're holding. And then the monkeys just come out of nowhere. They're already in there among you. They're kind of up in the trees and up, you know, all hiding. But once they've got food out and you're holding that food, the monkeys, they come out of the woodwork. And this was extremely fun and really great. And just actually lots of laughs and smiles and just like, wow, look at this. Monkeys are jumping all over your head. They're hopping from one head to the other, coming up to you, climbing on you, hanging out on your shoulders. But as soon as the food was gone, the monkeys were gone. They lost all interest in you. If you like put your hand out like you're trying to pet a cat and say, come here, they would have no interest. They did not want to come anywhere near you unless you had food. So the guys that worked there would sometimes come along and put some more nuts and fruits and things like that in your little bowl, and then the monkeys would come right back and they would take the food and they would interact with you a little bit. They would let you pet them a little bit, but not for super long. But they would hang out just long enough to let you get some pictures, and this is a great place for some really fun photo ops. After you're in this area for just a little while, they're gonna move you to the next enclosure so they can let more people in behind you. The entire thing is set up with like one little enclosure after another so that they can kind of filter people in and out in smaller groups. But you're only in each enclosure for maybe 10 minutes tops, and this entire experience is over in, I would say, roughly 25 or 30 minutes. So out of this entire 5-hour experience, you're only interacting with these monkeys for maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes at the most. And it does go pretty fast. That is one thing you really need to know about this. You might see that price and be like, okay, that sounds fun. We're gonna go on a tour. We're gonna go up into the mountains. We're gonna feed monkeys. And it is, it's a lot of fun. It's a great experience. But the monkey part of it, the monkey part of Monkeyland is a very small part of it. 20, 30 minutes and you are in and out of there. But it is a very, very fun 20 or 30 minutes. And honestly, I don't know how much longer you'd want to be in there. I mean, feeding monkeys for 2 or 3 hours, even that's got to get old after a little while. But 20 or 30 minutes is about as long as it's going to be. So you really want to know that, because some of you might be disappointed if you paid for this thing, aren't crazy about the tour, and then you get 20 minutes with the monkeys. From here, you're gonna be led up to the top of this hill to this giant room where you're gonna get a demonstration on how they make coffee, chocolate, and something called Mamana. They love their Mamana around here. It's an alcoholic drink, kind of similar to sangria. They're gonna make a demonstration of how they make this stuff, and they're gonna give you samples of everything. They're gonna give you samples of the chocolate, the coffee. You get to eat some raw cocoa beans, which I thought was kind of weird. It had a really weird texture. And then after that, they're gonna give you a big sales pitch on all this stuff. They're gonna try to sell you their homegrown coffee and their chocolate and their Mamana and their coconut oil. None of this is like a really hard sell. They're not gonna come and try to pressure you to take any of this stuff home. But it is a sales pitch nonetheless, and you paid money to be on this excursion, you went to see the monkeys, and they're coming up here trying to sell you something. You know, I did think this was actually pretty fun though. This was enjoyable. The scenery was great up here. It was fun to try different chocolates and cocoa beans and all that kind of stuff. But I got the feeling this was kind of a tacked on thing. You know, you're coming out for the tour and for Monkeyland, and you're like, well, how are we gonna fill another hour or so? We'll do a demonstration of chocolate and coffee, then we'll try to sell these tourist stuff. After that, they'll give you a little bit of time to spend in the gift shop, of course, before heading back on the bus for that 90-minute or so ride back to the port. They do take a bit of a different route back, so you're not seeing the same old stuff that you did on the way back out. And I actually thought the tour part of this was the most enjoyable part. The monkeys were really fun. I really liked seeing the monkeys. The cocoa beans and coffee sales pitch, take it or leave it, it was all right. But the tour was really, really fun. Like I said before, a lot of these cruise ports, you don't really get to see much of the actual country. So by taking this tour, they take you out and you get to see the cities and the countryside and the mountains and the jungle. I really like this. It gave me a sense that I've actually been to the Dominican Republic a little bit instead of just the cruise port. Like when you go to a place like Cozumel, half the tourists aren't even going beyond Señor Frogs. They see the port, they go back to the ship, they maybe do an excursion, but you're not really getting out and seeing the country. On this excursion, I felt like I actually kind of visited the country for the day. All right, so let's ask those final questions. Did I enjoy this? Would I do this one again? And would I recommend it? First of all, yeah, I actually really did enjoy this. I did, you kind of heard me complain a little bit here and there about the 20 or 30 minutes with the monkeys and the sales pitch and the long bus ride, which the long bus ride I thought was a pro rather than a con. But I can see that not really being for everybody. And if you don't really care too much about a tour, you don't want to sit in the bus, this excursion may be a little disappointing for you. Would I do it again? Probably not. This one was kind of a one and done for me. I thought it was fun. I'm really glad I did it. But if I'm ever back at this port again, I don't really think I would do this one again, simply because, hey, I'd seen that already. Maybe try something different. But I would recommend it, especially if you are interested in a tour. Like I keep saying in this, the tour is a big part of it, and I almost feel like it's kind of being misadvertised as a Monkeyland thing. Instead of calling it the Monkeyland excursion, maybe call it Dominican Tour Excursion with stops at Monkeyland and Flavors for Families. That might be the more accurate way I would describe this, because putting the Monkeyland as the premier thing on this, I think you're gonna get a few disappointed people who were expecting to spend a lot more time there than they actually did. And I know this might sound surprising because it's Monkeyland, and that sounds like something that'd be really, really kid-friendly. I don't know that I would recommend this for families with smaller kids, with like maybe kids that are 8 or below, because you are spending so much time in the bus with this tour. I don't think little kids or toddlers or even preteens would really appreciate that as much. And they're gonna be sitting in the bus and they may be getting kind of bored and antsy waiting to get to the Monkeyland, and you're only there for 20 or 30 minutes and then you're back on the bus to the cruise. So I can see kids maybe not loving this excursion because of how much time you're spending in the bus versus how much time you're spending with the monkeys. And that's something I think everybody really needs to know. This is a long excursion and only a short part of it is actually with the monkeys. All right, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please do all of the things: like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll be notified of my next video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.